Hi, I'm Grace Smith, and welcome. This video is here to give you a deeper understanding of what's actually happening in the Think Like Hypnosis sessions you'll hear through the Grace Smith podcast. These aren't ordinary interviews. They are interviews with the subconscious minds of my guests. And what that means is that after a brief conversation with my guest in normal waking consciousness, I will guide them into a state called the theta brainwave state, otherwise known as a hypnotic state. It's also where deep meditation takes place. And essentially, it's how you can access your subconscious mind directly. And from there, we explore the beliefs, memories, and mindset shifts that helped shape who they are today. Now, if you're brand new to hypnotherapy or even just curious about what's happening beneath the surface in the subconscious mind, this will walk you through each stage of that journey, why we do what we do, what it means, how it works, and why it's so effective. And if you're already familiar with hypnotherapy, this will likely help deepen your appreciation for the ways these sessions are structured and help you hear the episodes with new ears. So let's take it step by step, starting with number 1, relaxation and induction, setting the foundation for a hypnotherapy session. In order to access the subconscious mind, that rich, vast place where transformation, lasting transformation, can truly take place, we first need to quiet the conscious mind. And that's what we do during the induction phase. This is how we shift the brain from the beta brainwave state, which is where our waking awareness takes place. It's where problem solving can happen. It's where we conduct analysis and set goals, into the theta brainwave state, which is where we connect with our deep creativity, intuition, even more effective problem solving, because it's where all of our emotions reside, our beliefs about ourselves in the place in the world, and all of our habitual actions are stored in the subconscious as well. So think of it like switching gears in a car. If you've been zooming through the day in fifth gear, hypnosis invites you to slow down, shift into a quieter rhythm, and begin tuning inward. I often use a combination of progressive relaxation, staircase visualizations, and more to guide people into that theta brainwave state. With progressive relaxation, I gently direct their attention to different parts of the body, typically from the top of the head down to the tip of the toes, releasing tension one area at a time. This alone activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps the body feel safe and at ease. Then we introduce things like the staircase visualization, which is a powerful metaphor for descending into deeper consciousness. I'll say things like, "You're perfect staircase," and "You're safe place," because the subconscious mind is hearing the full phrase as well as just the beginning piece, the "You're perfect" and the "You're safe." The subconscious picks up on everything. So it's really hearing that double message that the staircase is tailored just for you and you are perfect just as you are. With each step down that staircase, it slows the emanating brain waves, deepens your breath, and moves you further into a relaxed, receptive state where that lasting change can really take place. Number 2, safe place exploration, creating a subconscious sanctuary. Once we've reached a deep level of relaxation, the client lands in what is called their safe place. This is a vividly imagined location that evokes a deep sense of peace, comfort, and belonging. It could be a beach, a garden, a mountaintop, a childhood backyard. It could be something totally unexpected, like landing on another planet. And either way is perfect and correct, so long as the client feels totally, completely, and perfectly safe and relaxed while being there. And here's why this matters so much. When the body feels unsafe, it goes into survival mode, fight, flight, freeze. And when you're in that mode, your brain is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. It becomes almost impossible to allow new information in an effective way. It can become very difficult to learn something new or rewire an old belief because the body and the brain are focused on surviving, not healing, flourishing, growing, adapting. All of those things are energetically very expensive, and the body wants to shut down all superfluous energy use so that it can just survive. However, in a safe place, the nervous system settles, the brain relaxes, your subconscious begins to feel safe enough to share, and this is when true transformation can occur. We also bring in senses here: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch to make the safe place feel very real. And this goes beyond just visualization or imagination. We're lighting up the part of the brain that actually processes real life experience. And that's the difference between casual visualization and what happens in the theta brainwave state during hypnotherapy. The brain doesn't just imagine the scene, it experiences it as if it's truly happening. Number three. Time travel to a formative memory, connecting the past to understand the present. The subconscious mind stores every memory you've ever had, even the ones that you don't consciously remember. And many of your core beliefs about yourself, others, and the world were actually formed before the age of 7 years old. That's why in this phase, we gently guide the subconscious to take us back to a formative moment, usually from early childhood, that still holds power today. And we're not just doing this to reminisce. We're not doing this for shock value. We're not doing this even because it's interesting. We're doing this because those early memories often act like seeds. They planted a belief or an identity, and we've been operating from that root system ever since. Sometimes we'll revisit joyful memories that hold wisdom and strength, or moments of curiosity, freedom, or even deep unconditional love. Other times we'll land in surprising places that were quiet turning points that left a mark on our lives permanently without us even realizing it until we go back to that moment. In hypnotherapy, we don't just remember these moments, we actually return to them with fresh present day awareness. And that's where the magic really lies. When we understand why a moment mattered, we can either reinforce the empowering belief it created or gently reframe it if it gave us a message at the time that no longer serves us, and if there's a more empowering and adaptive way to view that moment. Which brings us to number four: processing a difficult memory, turning pain into power. So once we've explored a positive formative moment, we'll often transition into something more challenging, a time where resilience, courage, or inner strength was required. And the reason we do this is because most of us never had the chance to fully process the hardest moments in our lives or to even fully understand them. Not because we didn't want to, but because we either didn't have the tools, the safety, the awareness, the time to do it, but also because life keeps coming at us and we just got to keep moving forward. But those unprocessed experiences don't just disappear. They get stored deeper, deeper down, buried into the subconscious, or they become maladaptive habits or ways of reacting to the world around us, shaping how we react, protect ourselves, and show up in relationships, at work, with our health, and more. So, in this part of the session, we return to those moments from a place of strength. We observe what happened, we see what it taught us, we reframe anything that needs reframing. And it's not because we want to gloss over it or pretend it wasn't hurtful, but because the empowered way to go through something is to allow it to strengthen us, allow us to understand ourselves and the world around us better, and to integrate the truth that we survived this. We grew and adapted from it, and we were taking all the most empowering elements from it and leaving the rest so that we're no longer stuck in that story. And this is where deep healing happens. So we're not going back to re injure. We're certainly not going back to wallow. We're going back to liberate, to claim wisdom and release the weight of any emotional burden. And this is a healing, transformative part for the client. And it tends to be tends to be one of the most illuminating parts for the listener as well. Number 5, sometimes we'll return to what I like to call the library, and everybody can see this differently when they are the client, but a library is just a place where a vast amount of knowledge is accessible from one room. So it's a really great analogy for the subconscious mind because it sets us up to be able to answer a lot of questions all from one place where we can unlock this subconscious wisdom without having to travel back and forth throughout time or different locations. Now, this space is really archetypal. It's magical, it's limitless, and it's where we go when we're ready to receive wisdom from the inside out, right? From the subconscious outward, rather than getting it externally from other people or dogmas or professors. It's your inner wisdom. And every object here represents a part of you, the client. It can be a book, it can be just a chapter, it could be a symbol, it could be a globe in the corner. There are hidden truths waiting to be discovered in every scroll, in every nook and cranny. And so when we're asking questions in the library, the subconscious will answer in a whole host of ways. Sometimes an actual person will appear in the library and have a conversation with my client there, or perhaps a scroll will unfurl, or sometimes things can be very symbolic. Sometimes they can be absolutely crystal clear. There are no words being minced here. Either way, it's a space of deep clarity, free from the limitations of the analytical mind. And it's a wonderful space that often holds the exact insights that the client has been seeking. 6, future pacing. So at this point, we've gathered wisdom from the past, insights from the present, and then we like to look ahead. So something called future pacing in hypnotherapy is when the client vividly imagines themselves. It could be tomorrow, it could be 6 weeks from now, it could be a year from now, it could be 10 years from now. And this is not a goal setting exercise the way that the conscious mind would do it. It's an invitation to literally live in the future, seeing yourself with that healthier, vibrant body, seeing yourself living and experiencing using all of your senses with that future loving partner or with that incredible job. And so, what you're doing is, I call it creating neural scaffolding. A lot of times, our subconscious doesn't want to change because it fears the unknown and it rather stay in an unhelpful, unhealthy cycle just because it's familiar rather than making changes that are necessary to live a vastly improved life simply because it cannot grasp what that lived experience will be like. Well, with future pacing, you live it. The brain, as far as it's concerned, is living that life. And therefore, it becomes less scary because it becomes known. So we take all of the wisdom we've achieved at this point, all of the lessons and all of the messages, and then we future pace a lived experience of these elevated new experiences. Number 7, the final message from the higher self. So to close the session, I typically like to ask for a final message from within. It's even loftier than what comes from the library because it could come from the higher self or spirit guides. It could come from ancestral wisdom or a religious or spiritual figure who means a tremendous amount to you. Just a deep intelligence that exists beyond the confines of the human mind. The most important thing is that it just resonates as being deeply important and true for the client. So sometimes it's a phrase, sometimes it's an inner knowing. It almost always elevates everything that happened in the session up until this point. But every once in a while, it comes out of left field and has something to do that's completely different from what we've discussed up until that point in the session, but is still vitally important for the client to receive. 8, integration and return. Now, before I bring the client back up to full waking consciousness or back to the beta brainwave state, there's typically time to explore other things as well, perhaps questions that were sent in from their audience, or one of our journeys into the sections that we've discussed here brings us on a tangent elsewhere. And so by the end, what we want to do is take all of the information and the experiences we've received and wrap it up with a bow, integrate everything, bring it all back to the present moment. So all of the transformation is available in normal, everyday waking life so that the client is existing at a higher level, enjoying their life in a way that they weren't able to before, and are exhibiting healthier, happier, more adaptive traits than before. Now, this is not indicative of how a hypnotherapist should necessarily conduct a session with a client. This is the format I have created for a podcast so that the client can get the most out of it and the listener can get the most out of it. If you want to know how to be a world-class hypnotherapist conducting private sessions with clients based on what they most uniquely need, has nothing to do with a podcast format, then I highly recommend you look into our Grace Hypnotherapy Certification School, where you will learn how to become a world-class Grace Method hypnotherapist. So I wanted you to have the background of why I do what I do during these podcast Think Like sessions. However, they're not meant to be recreated verbatim for the purposes of working with your clients, because it's not going to be the most helpful format for whatever it is that they're wanting to work on and transcend. But you will learn what would be most helpful at our Grace Method Hypnotherapy Certification School. And we would love to have you as one of our newest students. So thank you so much for being here and taking the time to understand what's really happening in these sessions. Now, as you listen to the Think Like series, you'll know how to track and understand the journey even more, from the initial relaxation to the insights that are received to the final transformation and wrapping up at the end. And more importantly, you'll know that these shifts are not just for our guests, they're possible for you too. And that's why I created the Think Like Hypnotherapy recordings that live on our Grace Hypnotherapy app. So once you listen to the podcast, you can then transition over to our app and listen to a hypnotherapy recording that is designed to help your subconscious, your unique subconscious, take all of the information and wisdom that was gleaned from our guest and apply it to the development and the enhancement and the upgrading of your subconscious mind. Thank you so much for listening. I can't wait to read your feedback and just hope that you continue to and love the Think Like series on the Grace Smith podcast. Thanks for listening.